Hello and welcome to podcast 365 of 5-Star Potential, your weekly Football Manager podcast. I'm Dupe, and on this week's pod, I am joined by Paul, aka Mad FM, and Dave, aka AKM. Yeah, Dave, AKM. How are you doing, mate? What's
Hi,
the
Dave,
new
AKM.
nickname, Dave? Because I can't read a fucking script tonight. Well, on this week's pod, we've got Wonderkids on the brain, with Football Manager recently tweeting the most signed Wonderkids from the last 6 versions of FM. So we're going to have a little go through the nominations and chat about our own favourite Wonderkids of recent years gone by, crowning our Wonderkid of the year for each version, including the most recent FM24, before deciding who will be the official 5-Star Potential all-time Wonderkid from the last decade. I think we've probably already done that looking at his Wikipedia page. But anyway, and I think, unfortunately, incredibly bad news. It's not about the save updates. Mad's written a fucking quiz. But before we get to all of that exciting stuff and the quiz, what we've been up to this week, gents? Any winners, any losers? Because I've got one of each this week.
Go on, Mad.
I'll go first because I think Newcastle are actually... I've decided Newcastle are having a terrible transfer window, lads. And I think they're my loser of the week. Almost every other club is doing well. Do you know what? Wolves are probably having an even worse one, Dave, because everybody's just signing Wolves players. But yeah, things aren't really going well from a Newcastle perspective. But on a winner of the week note, they did just tweet out a picture of David Ginola wearing their 1996 away kit. It's the old blue and maroon horizontal stripes. And they put down the 13th of August. So it looks like that's going to be the release date for the new away kit.
It could be just your only signing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, by the looks of it, yeah.
I'm actually just going to go search for that now and have a little look because I'm interested to see.
I think has that been leaked yet? That sounds good though. I like the.
I've seen a few leaks, but you never know. But I like
put
the
rolling
design.
it back. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'd love it if they just come back with Newcastle Brown Ale sponsor. That'd be legendary.
Oh, that would be the dream.
I mean, you're not in Europe next year, so there'll be no issues with that sponsorship.
No, that's the loser. That's the loser of the season. That one.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave? Any winners this week, mate?
My winner of the week is Mad falling for a fake Fabrizio Romano
Yes.
tweet.
I called him out on it instantly, by the way.
I'm glad you did because
it was fake David Ornstein. Sorry, not Fabrizio.
Fake David Ornstein.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Do you know what I was getting?
To be fair, it wasn't. It wasn't a bad fake.
I was in the car. I was in the traffic lights, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this," because I hadn't looked at my phone for a couple hours. But then, thankfully, within a few minutes, Dupe called me out in Discord and made me realize so I could quickly undo what I'd done. So, yes, I fell hook, line, and sinker. Thank you very much, fake David Ornstein, whoever you are.
Oh, mate, I want to find David Ornstesner, whatever his name was, and buy that guy a pint because he got mad, hook, line, and fucking sinker.
He did.
Yeah, it was well written. The tweet was well written because it had.
I think it's. I was gonna say when you actually look at it, I think it's like one from the lit deal that he's just basically changed the key factors in, and then when you or it's like one of it's changed the actual Ornstein one from back in the day where he mentioned they were interested because like he's even put the bloody
hashtags and
he's done very well.
He's done well. Yeah. You'd wonder why people bother, but obviously it's to catch idiots like me who are stuck in traffic.
I mean, it's not that difficult, is it? Okay, awesome. My win of the week, a bit like Mads, is kit related. I want to say my win of the week is Adidas. Adidas dropped a absolute sweet of a picture, dropping 5 third kits all in one go.
And none of them were the Newcastle third kit. I'm just throw out there. Adidas are also Newcastle, but that's fine. That's okay.
Did they not? Was Newcastle on that picture?
No, it was just teams that were in Europe. To be fair, so it was Real Madrid, Arsenal, Man United, Bayern Munich. Oh, what was the 5th one?
I actually had it open there, but I
was it Roma? No, it wasn't Roma.
Nah. Who you said? Real, Man U, Arsenal, Bayern.
What was Vieira wearing? Vieira was
Arsenal.
in it, no?
Arsenal, yeah.
Juventus. That says the Juventus one in here as well. Yeah.
Was it the Juventus one?
It was Del Piero, wasn't it, I think?
Del Piero, yeah, sorry. Yeah, perfect. So there you go. So absolute awesome. I thought there was no tweets from any of the clubs. There was nothing. And then bang, they just all retweeted. The club legends just retweeted it, and I thought it was pretty damn cool. I will say I was at Wembley on Saturday, and the amount of those third kits that I saw was unbelievable. In the pub before, in the game, loads of people had them on. So I'm guessing old DHgate is still doing absolute wonders out there.
That's mad that people are wearing them before it's actually officially
Yeah,
out.
honestly, I saw loads out there. And to be fair, some of them were pretty good fakes by the looks of things. But yeah,
I think I saw a tweet. Did I see something from Sheffield Wednesday about fake kits, and they were like warning fans not to.
But they said, that in the Euros.
Stadium.
The fakes are that good now. I don't understand how people are going to get caught out by it.
That, and not that I condone it or whatever, because obviously, probably morally, ethically, it is wrong. But I'll be honest, with two kids, I don't really want to spend 65 quid on each child.
The price is insane, though. You can't play people
I think unless I remember back when Wolves first came back into the Premier League, I could tell if someone had a fake one because the colour was so unique. And it was like some people walking around in like the actual old gold Wolves shirt, and then there were other people walking around like a lemon yellow shirt. So you could tell which ones are fake. But I think with a lot of them, like if it's a white kit like that United top or black kit or whatever, it's so easy to fake them. But
yeah,
we move.
My other winner of the week, because I want to have two, is Everton fans. I don't know if people know a lot about the little rivalry that Manchester United and Everton have got recently, because we wouldn't pay 80 million for Branthwaite. We've then gone out and got De Ligt for a lot cheaper, probably lesser of a player, I'm not going to lie. But Branthwaite's obviously still got a lot to prove. And to be fair, so does De Ligt. He's gone from one club to another, and never really found his feet. But I will love the fact that I'm going through all of the tweets, all slagging off Man United because we wouldn't pay the price, to see that Everton have been announced today that they're going to get a points deduction at the start of the season because they were 6.5 million over the PSR. Yeah, been confirmed today. So cheers, lads. Yeah, well done. You're my winners of the week. Matt, let's go on to losers of the week. Who's your loser of the week, Matt?
I mean, I did say Newcastle in the transfer window. I just...
you went straight in with the loser. So you had no winner at all?
Yeah. Well, the winner was the away kit for Newcastle.
Okay. Matt did the double whammy.
I wasn't listening. Or he wasn't doing it as we were meant to. We discussed it before the pod. We'll go around once, and then we'll go around again.
Do you know what? I don't know. PSR fucking Chelsea stacking players. What are they on? 45 first-team players on the books now, including Romelu Lukaku somehow. Like, it's insane. And now they've just broken Dave's heart by signing Pedro Neto on a 7-year contract. With the man he's got hamstrings made of cling film. Like,
the only thing, right? The only thing I've got a few questions about it. Right, we can discuss it. Obviously, it's in Football Manager, so we can discuss it. We can link it to that. Why the fuck are players going to Chelsea still? Like, why would you want to go to Chelsea right now? If my agent called me up, it would be fuck it. You know, at the moment, they're probably not far off from signing me. Like, you've got to look at the fact that how strong that squad is, and something like it doesn't take a genius. And I'm not a football finance expert, right? I'll leave that to the price of football, but it doesn't take an absolute genius to work out that something's going to happen to Chelsea. Yes, they're doing like the staggered deals and over an X amount of time, but they just keep. I've never seen a team buy so many players in a transfer window.
It's mad. It's absolute insanity. Even all the centre backs. You know, like Tossin chose to go there.
Do you know the best
8
bit,
other centre backs.
I was looking at a tweet. I was looking at like a picture of a football pitch, and it had every single player that Chelsea have in their squad at this current moment in time. Still not a decent 11 out of the lot.
Yeah.
You know, yes, all right. They've got like you take Ben Chilwell left back, injury prone. You take Reece James right back, injury prone. You got Cucurella. Yeah, he had a good Euros, but apart from that, he's been pretty pants. You know, they got so much and the balance, and like they got Caicedo, like they spent 100 million on him. They got Enzo Fernandez, who just, I'm not going to go into it, but like he does what he does.
Dumbass.
He did what he did, and then they make him fucking vice captain. Like,
yeah, it makes no sense.
Oh my, honestly, I honestly feel that they're just going right. We're going to sign a new player today. Okay, brilliant. Next day, come into the training ground. Let's just put my hand in the bingo ball. Oh, Oh, we're gonna make Enzo Fernandez. Like, it's just a comedy of fucking errors, and it's gonna end in tears. So I do I feel sorry for Chelsea fans. At the end of the day, you're gonna all be City fans soon anyway, and then they'll come back to being Chelsea fans again. So we'll see what happens with that. David, what's your winner of the week? Loser of the week.
Probably Wolves losing Neto. To be fair, I'm not like devastated by it because I think I expected it much earlier this year. I sort of said to someone earlier on today, I said it's weird at the moment. I don't have like a real connection as such with players. I think I've sort of got to the point now where I accept, especially with Wolves, where they are as a Premier League club, that players are going to come and go, and so I don't really get a sort of a connection or attraction to them as such. So yeah, I think he's a good player. I think the money that Wolves have got for him is good for a player that's injured all the while. So, but I'm still excited. I think on his day, he's such a good footballer. So I'm excited if he can stay injury free. I think Chelsea got a hell of a player, but just up to Wolves now to see if they can reinvest in the squad.
What you got?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Dave. Sorry, Dave. I was just going to ask, like, if this was Football Manager, you'd have that little option that says, "Can you give me 100% of the transfer revenue to reinvest in the squad?" Like, is that going to happen? So what? 50 million odd for Neto, 40 million for Kilman. Is there anyone else? Like,
yeah, so those two have gone.
Are they reinvesting?
We had spent a little bit beforehand, I think, expecting a sale. So we obviously signed Rodrigo Gomez, Pedro Lima, and Strand Larson on loan, but pretty much an obligation to buy. I think they will. I think Gary O'Neill's made it pretty clear as well. So, but I think they're after Premier League experienced players, and either you got to spend a fortune on those, or you've sort of got to go abroad to look for some of those. So I am intrigued to see, but they won't directly replace players like Neto, I don't think. I think they still want another centre-back. They will want another forward in some capacity, and then maybe one or two younger players. So I reckon 3 or 4 players still before the window. But it's a week till the Premier League season, isn't it? So, or less than a week now. So I'm hoping that they get things moving soon.
Let's not forget
3 weeks transfer window.
Have we got the 5-star pod FPL, by the way? Have we? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's still a thing. Also, whilst we just mentioned about the FPL, there'll be a link because I'll give it to Dave to put in the bottom to my Discord, where I opened my fucking mouth to a bloke that I know at work who won the FPL last year and stated that he knows fuck all. He then slagged me off because I came next to bottom because, as per usual, I make a squad and then just leave it. We are taking FPL seriously over at Dupes Towers this year. Fucking hell, I only talk to myself in third person. What a knob. So I need your help to make sure we beat him. I've got a bit of money on him, and we will use that money to fund prizes for the league. So we need to win.
Matt, do you play it regularly, or do you look at
the FPL?
FPL?
Yeah. Like I might miss the odd weekend if something's going on.
I reckon because I played quite. Last year was probably the first year I played it full. We could do like a little couple minutes every week on how we're getting on.
You want to do an FPL pod?
No,
we'd have to take it seriously.
No, in part of this pod, but part of the winners or losers or whatever, we can always quickly mention it.
Okay, yeah, well, we got the league sorted, so the link to that will be in the description as well. Make sure you sign up before the end of the week. Obviously, Friday being the I think it's Thursday. Is it Friday at like 6 o'clock? The first game.
Normally an hour or so before kickoff.
Make sure you are locked in. I'll tell you what. After the pod, we'll have a little look at each other's teams because I've built a monster already. So we'll do that. Even though Dave's got a woman upstairs. My loser of the week, unfortunately, goes to Varane. Made his debut tonight again with Como. Gone off injured after 15 minutes. So it wasn't just United that he's injured for. He's injured for fucking everybody. But obviously, it's really sad to see. Also, obviously, we've been quite bit weird. It's been a bit weird at Man United. Obviously, we had the Community Shield yesterday. My actual main losers of the week is the Manchester City fans, and I don't mean this horribly. I know there's obviously a bit of rivalry, but I've never been to a football game that the fans were that shit. And I've actually got videos of people that were in the Man City end and how pants it was. Now, I've not seen it on TV yet. I'll be watching that after the pod. And I don't know how, if you could hear the difference, notice the difference, but I'm proud Man United fan. I sing, I chant, and I'm in it, and I'm there. And I even try and start the chants if I can, because I've got quite a loud voice. But the City fans were poor, so yeah, they're the big losers of the week. The only time I heard them celebrate was when they won it, and that was it, like on penalties, against a really, really weird teams. It was weird, really weird game. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, should we move on to some Football Manager stuff? Kind of. More so the Wonderkids, because as we mentioned at the top of the show, the Football Manager account has actually tweeted out a list of the most signed Wonderkids from FM19 all the way through to FM24. And with that in mind, we're going to reflect on some of the names listed, as well as throw in a few of our own personal favourites from years gone by. And actually, to be fair, I've looked through the list, and there's a few that are probably not classed as Wonderkids, but to me, are definitely Wonderkids. So I'm going to be bringing them to the table. I hope you don't mind. And then we can have a massive dick measuring contest, and we'll see who wins. Probably Dave.
Especially tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We can finally decide who is our all-time Wonderkid from the last 10 years of Football Manager. Dave, you can only kind of really contribute for the last 4 years of those, right? So, but we'll go. So let's start with FM 2019, and let's start and get the awkwardness out of the room, because my team have got a player on the list. Mad's team have got a player on the list, and Wolves have actually got a player on the list as well. So we'll start with Delit. Tony and Turney were the most signed from FM. However, we've put a few on the list, one being Fabio Silva. Is he still at the club, Dave?
Somehow, yeah, he's still at Wolves. He's going this summer, I think.
Yeah, I did see that. But is
Where's
there any...
he's broke. You broke him. Like, Wolves broke Fabio Silva, Dave.
No, he broke himself.
Happened, no?
Well,
40 million gone.
I will not. Yeah. I'll have to admit, I can remember how excited you were when you signed him, by the way.
I couldn't believe it. I thought he was unbelievable.
I mean, you even made a T-shirt making him look like Jesus Christ, for Christ's sake. I mean, what more can you do for the man than hope that? Okay, so we'll start with Mad, FM19, one of the older versions, probably. Well, there's not probably about it. You are the oldest on the pod, even if the others are here. So who can you remember as a standout in FM19?
Yeah, FM19, it's probably timely that Football Manager went back that far. FM19 was the first year I started doing any kind of content. It's when I wrote my first blog. I was doing a save at Tenerife. And I think I remember starting with them in the Segunda Division, so the league below La Liga. And actually went on, I think I had a good 8-9 seasons. But some of the names like that have popped up, I suppose, as Wonderkids from that year, like I actually had quite a few of them at Tenerife, as you would do. But like, you mentioned Fabio Silva. He was unbelievable for me in that save. Like, he was a proper Wonderkid. And like, potentially is somebody we'll talk about in a few years. Dave, looking at you, as a failed Wonderkid, the way things are standing, right? If you were to call it now, you'd say he's a failed Wonderkid, as Wonderkids go. But the others that stood out for me, sticking in that part of the world, Zadas. Do you remember Zadas? He's like the cheapest Wonderkid in history at Braga. You'd get him for like $500,000 easily. Could play anywhere in the kind of attack midfield strata. He was great as number 10 as a attack midfield centre. He's just like value for money, unbelievable. And then two other players I had in that save that I would say are Wonderkids from FM19 that people would, listeners probably would remember. One was a winger, Antonio Marin. I want to say he was Croatian. Again, stupidly cheap, easily available at the beginning of FM19. And more than good enough to play like, top 5 leagues. He was good enough to get you Champions League football, all that kind of thing. Lightning quick, just had everything you want in the match engine. And the other guy is, for me, definitely a failed real life Wonderkid, I would say. And again, this is another guy who was around for quite a few versions of FM, which was Mikhail Cuisance, who basically is French, kind of a centre midfielder, attack midfielder. Was tipped for greatness. He was at Bayern in real life, and I mean, the last I remember, he was down in, was he at Venezia or somewhere like that at one point? I don't know if you lads remember him, but like he was so highly rated in real life. He was unbelievable in Football Manager, and his whole career is completely tanked. And he's literally one of those that is now probably more known for his FM ability than his real life ability. And we all know there's quite a few of those Wonderkids in the past. So yeah, I had all of those guys in my Tenerife save. And it was a great save. But Fabio Silva was the best of the lot. And, it wasn't, like, it was only a couple of years ago, obviously he moved to Wolves. I was so surprised he went to Wolves, but obviously the fee was just so big. Like, I don't think anybody else was going to offer that fee. Man, he was unbelievable for at least maybe 2 versions of FM. And Dave, you might remember even better than me.
Yeah.
Fabio Silva enthusiast that you are.
No, I think obviously I remember I've just gone back to see what saves I was actually doing in FM19 because I can barely remember what save I'm doing now, let alone what I was doing 5 years ago. And I had loads of saves in FM19. The big one was the El Clasico network save I did with Joe. So funnily enough, I would have been managing Porto, but for some reason I just can't remember. Managing him. So I'm having a quick flick through now. But either way, like, Ruben Neves was still very good back then. Obviously, Ruben was at Wolves then and had re-signed him for Porto quite quickly after. I was trying to flick through to see if there was anybody else because Joe had some great players. Cause I think Gedson he had as well. The central midfielder was really good for Joe. I was just trying to see because I had Gabigol up front here. So maybe I didn't have Fabio Silva then. But I don't know where he would be unless he was still in the reserves. So I don't think I had the pleasure of managing him that much. But yeah, Gedson Fernandez was always good as well. But I don't know, I never really went out my way to sign Wonderkids, and I still don't really do it now that often, to be honest. But Jadas was definitely one. I always remember Clan on his saves on his stream. Clan used to sign all the Wonderkids. I remember Jadas was one of those all the time. But Joe would be good at this sort of thing because Joe used to have a really good eye for some of these sort of hidden wonder kids. But yeah, Fabio for sure.
Pissed him off enough to kick him off the pod, isn't it? You know what I mean? Otherwise, we could have had a really good pod today.
Curty, Joe, Matt. Why isn't throwing teach here while you're at
it? Talking to teach. That was actually one of my saves. I think that was our last, one of the network saves. We did like an Arsenal Tottenham one. I'm just going through mine, and my main save really during that time was I was playing as 1860 and my 1860 save, and then I went to which like the 1860 is quite tough to talk about Wonderkids in my opinion because of the fact that we didn't really have the chance to flex the Wonderkids. It took us a couple of seasons to get up, and by the time and the reputation that obviously we've discussed at Silence Test, a bit similar with the 1860, that was one of them. But one save I can remember very nicely in FM19. At the end of FM19, I picked up a Malaga save. I actually had Tonali in my centre midfield. I had a three-man midfield. The reason I can tell you this is because I'm actually looking at it now. I had Tonali. I also had a very young Vinicius Junior out on the left.
Ooh.
Right. So so FM19, we were season 3, so that'd have been 2021. So he would have been what, 19 at the time? Must have been 19 at the time. So like he was banging. We had Chief Chong on the right hand side, who was really good at that kind of age at FM19. But the one for me that stuck out and will always stick out for that Malaga save was Marilla. Do you remember Marilla that come through? From FM19, like really highly promising kid. I don't actually know where he is at now, but he come through and he was a left winger, and he was
the Murilla.
No, Morilla. I'm trying to find a screenshot as we speak.
I feel like I remember talking or hearing about him on the pod.
Yeah, I remember bringing him in, and obviously having at the same time, he's actually at Hibs, so yeah, he's done really well for himself. No, that's not him. I'm thinking of somebody else. That's not him. Anyway, we'll find a screenshot somewhere, and hopefully we can share it. But he was a winger, and I just couldn't get him playing well on the wing. And then Vinicius Junior came in, and he was really, really young when we picked him up. And then I dropped him in as an advanced playmaker on attack. And this was when the AP attack was very, very strong. And basically, you could just retrain wingers into that AP role very, very well. And he just banged and banged. And I remember, like, still not that long ago when me and Joe got together and we were having a chat about Football Manager saves and stuff. And we were mentioning this guy. And Joe was like, I just don't understand how you got that to work, sort of thing. It was phenomenal. So many might not know. You lot don't know. But my shout goes to the big man Marilla. And I think he's the guy for me, Marilla.
Well, there's one other one. So, because we said the FM, so Football Manager said that the top three Wonder Kids that year were Delict, Tonali, as you mentioned, and Kieran Tierney. I never signed this player. I don't remember signing him in any FM really, and I'm sure he was around for maybe 19 and 20. He's still around now. Pietro Pellegrini. But Dave, I feel like
That's a David shout.
You were, yeah, that's a shout for you, Pietro Pellegrini. I can't remember where you
FM 19 though.
He was
surely he was later than that, no?
I mean, what are you looking at? 4 or 5 seasons ago?
See, he was
I'm
big
sure he
in
was
the
around
same
in FM
year
19.
as I would have said Sesko, but maybe
I would have thought Sesko's even younger.
I thought Pellegrini and
FM
Sesko were the ones because you had like 2 strikers of the same year, which were like both beasts, or maybe Pellegrini was the year prior. But I've got a feeling that
I think it was Luca,
21.
maybe Lorenzo Luca.
That's who I'm thinking of. Lorenzo Luca, yeah, sorry,
yeah. He might be Sesko.
Maybe Pellegrini, yeah.
I think Pellegrini he possibly was like 16, even 17 in FM 19, so maybe he was around for a couple of games.
And Grubels. Grubels is another one. He was
French
massively
kid.
around. He was quality around then. He was signed for a lot of player teams, yeah. Right, let's jump on to FM 20, which is probably my favourite version of Football Manager ever played. It probably had one of my favourite saves ever played, where I took Palermo from the bottom of Italian football structure all the way to the Champions League the day before the beta come out, which is just fantastic. And this is the FM speak about. This is the emergence of Haaland, some guy that likes to bet on his own games, and Sancho, which again, one from my team, one from your team, and nothing from yours, Dave. But there is some guys that you'll know very, very well. Esposito being one of them. And one
do you remember it was a Curti? Curti used to sing about him on his streams.
Yes,
It was Desposito. It was non-stop.
One that because I love a DM on Football Manager. I love playing a DM. On most of my systems, I play a DM. Marco Kana was an incredible wonder kid at the stage.
Anderlecht. Anderlecht. Yeah. Wow.
Pick him up cheap as chips and just went under the radar as such a good signing for such a long, long time.
He was really like, you had Anthony Van den Bore, Vincent Kompany, and he was like the reincarnation of both of them together. He was unbelievable. And cheap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, another one that I couldn't tell you where he is now. Do you know he was a big FM Wonderkid in FM 20 onwards?
Okay.
Not a clue now.
Yeah, I've not seen him since, to be fair. I'll be honest, I haven't looked for him, I'll be honest. But I haven't seen him
plays for Anderlecht now. He's only 22 still.
That's nutty, isn't it? That is mental. I'm just looking through. Obviously, I had quite a long save with Palermo, building the team up, and actually one of the best new gens I had was a chap called Matthias Metz, who was a new gen. It went and scored like a crazy amount of goals and was just incredible for us. So annoyingly, when these saves that you do, a bit like I do, like a bit like the Cirencester save this year, the Palermo. The 1860 where you start so down low, you don't get the chance to sign these wonder kids that kind of everyone talks about. So I kind of I feel a bit of a cuck for them because I get to watch everybody else fucking about with them and I don't get to have a go. So, Dave, who's your favourite?
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking again at so that year I did a PSG save right at the start of the game, and then I went straight into the Pentagon. So again, like in terms of Wonder Kids, I didn't have a massive amount. But looking at the other list, I remember Mariba being a good player. But again, a lot of these haven't really gone on to sort of great things so far. I know they're also still going to be young. I know it's 4 years ago the game, but still very young players. Is Mariba? Is he still at? Is he at Leipzig? I think he left Barca to join Leipzig off the top of my head.
I think he ended up somewhere random in Spain for a while as well, where there was a loan.
Yeah, because I think. Oh yeah, he's at Celta Vigo on loan from Leipzig.
There you go. Yeah. His stock dropped rapidly.
He's still only 21, which is crazy, really.
And he was unbelievable. I remember him in that year. I even think we might have voted him like player of that version or something one time, many years ago, or at some point. He was great in FM20, and like that, but just hasn't materialized. One that probably has, though, or at least he's been moving around this summer as well, since Thiago Almada. I think FM20 was Thiago Almada's first kind of emergence in the game. And again, like similar to Zadas, absolute value for money, instantly ready to walk into any team. Could play in a host of different positions. And he's, whatever happens his career, I think he's back. Did he go back to Argentina now?
No, Brazil. He went to
America. Or Brazil, yeah.
Went back to Brazil. So quite a weird move, really, but
it's
he had a great record in America.
I'm surprised he didn't end up in Europe. So he still hasn't played in Europe yet. So it'll be interesting to see, where his career brings him and whether he'll live up to the Wonderkid kind of potential that he had. There was some good players. Calvin Stengs was one I remember that I had in
Curty loved him as well,
I think. Curty did that AZ save. I remember him talking about him. Yeah. He was brilliant in that year as well. But yeah, probably Esposito was one of the top ones. Even though again, it's kind of one of those weird.
I'm sure I managed Esposito. When did we do our Syria network save, dude?
That must have been that. Yeah, it must have been.
I think did you have Esposito?
Yeah, he's at Inter, wasn't he? He just absolutely smashed it.
So if it wasn't that year, it might have been FM21. I'll try and find that out.
That's the only reason why he actually smashed it.
He had Lukaku as well, though, didn't he? It was unbelievable.
Yeah, to be fair though, Lukaku had to take about 27 chances there. I remember him kind of not being overly impressed with him, to be honest. But yeah, that's again another good year. When you look at some of these players, like another good year. Now we're getting closer and closer to present day. We're getting more and more players that we can see. Now, one thing I will say, you look at the top line, like the FM list, a lot of these players have made it big time. You look at these others that we're mentioning, really kind of just gone along the wayside. And kind of FM21 is another one of those sorts of those seasons. So FM come out and say Camavinga, Haaland, and Donnarumma. We mentioned some others like Mukoko, there's talks this season going off, and also Bastoni. Now, FM21 for me was achievement hunter. So I actually managed to manage some crazy people. I was able to come out with a tactic called Total Dupe Ball with 3 at the back, 2 inverted wing backs, 3 strikers, a shadow striker in behind, and Mukoko was my number 9. He actually won the number 11 because Victor Osimhen won number 9. But anyway, he was number 9. He played centre and he absolutely bagged a shit ton of goals and still got changed for it. Like the craziness that he did with that system was absolutely nuts. So for the first time, I can actually contribute to the FM list and say that that Mukoko was a banger. Camavinga as well. This is kind of just before he must have signed for Real Madrid, right, or the season before that. And this is COVID times as well. So, which fucking hell, this is crazy times. But Bastoni for me is one that was a legend, and everybody signed him. Like, let's be honest, I'm sure all 3 of us must have signed him at one stage. But he hasn't really done. I mean, yes, he's still at Inter, right? And yes, Inter are doing all right in Serie A, but like I don't hear much about him at all.
It's almost like nobody's gone in for him. I'd say his price is just guaranteed to be too high. He's always on a long contract. I think he's left-footed centre back. I think he's pretty much first choice for Italy. I think wasn't he injured maybe in the last tournament, but I don't know. I feel like it would take a massive feat to get him out of Inter Milan because he's such an important part of them, and they obviously won the league last year. So I would say he has lived up to his potential. He is world-class centre back, but just is one of the rare ones that hasn't moved anywhere because he's already at a fairly good club and seems to be happy there. Maybe, I don't know. I think he came from Atalanta before that, but yeah, I don't know. Interesting one. FM21, I was in France.
I was going to say, your favourite player is top of the line there, mate.
Yeah, and on the line we have written down here.
Yeah.
I did that save at Angers. Don't look back in Angers. Don't look back in Angers. But it was homegrown, so they're all French players that I was signing. Never managed to bring in Camavinga, but I did a spell at France at the end of it in the World Cup, and we won the World Cup with Camavinga in the side. But the player who was up front for me, for club and country, for the majority of that save, is definitely my favourite Wonderkid of FM21, Amine Gouiri. I don't know if you remember him. Now, he's bounced around a couple of French clubs as it is. He was an absolute goal machine, and I felt like it had been a couple of seasons. If you kind of put Haaland to one side, and then you're looking at obviously Fabio Silva, whoever, but for me he was like the most goals I'd gotten out of a striker for quite a few years of FM, as in like ridiculous numbers. So it says more about me. But
Holy shit! Sorry to butt in here, man. So I'm just going.
yes,
So as you can probably guess, whilst Matt's talking, I'm going through my old saves and just trying to find stuff. And I'm actually doing it on Twitter and just using the hashtag in the search. Right. I'm going to share this to you. I've just found a picture of Dave after he shaved his head.
Oh my god!
On the screen. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, go on,
That's
carry
a
on. Sorry,
trim, man.
I know,
Yeah,
mate. It's
that's
dead trim.
the trim.
It wasn't even Christmas, so you got tinsel up. I will also say, Matt, I did some time in France, and Gory just absolutely tore me a new one. Absolutely tore me a new one.
It was unreal.
It was insane.
I think I actually played him off the left for a while, and then eventually just had to put him up front. But he could do both. He was that good. So that was like Haaland was obviously there in that year. Moukoko was just bursting on the scene, but I'd go so far as to say Guiri was probably the best, or best or most consistent for the price he was in FM21. Unbelievable. Like I would definitely be throwing my hat to say he would be the best Wonderkid of FM21 for me, which is tough, right? Because you're competing with Moukoko there, and like Camavinga was that good as well.
Yeah, it is tough.
21 was the network save year, dupe. I just found it as well.
21. Okay.
Yeah.
So Joe would have had Bastoni as well, wouldn't he? Or no?
Yeah, Bastoni was very good for him, and Esposito. So obviously he carried on being good the year after as well.
Fair play. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that was probably the only reason why he won. Like, we had the weaker teams. Definitely. Who are you?
AC,
weren't you? Yeah.
I still got the shirt because we had the shirts with our names on.
Yeah, so I got the Napoli one as well. Yeah, let's see. Right, FM22. This is we've still got Haaland in this one, but we've got Adeyemi, who I think's an absolute baller. We've also got a young Jude Bellingham. Anyone, what were you doing in FM22, boys?
I can tell you I didn't sign Jude Bellingham in FM22. I was doing the Northern Boys save. It was the first time I did the Legionnaire, and it was the one with Newcastle. So I was only signing players from the Northeast, so I couldn't sign it. I basically didn't sign anyone in this, any Wonderkids from this year. And this is a crazy year. Like you mentioned Adeyemi. I remember, I think, Dave, this is the year probably when the likes of Lorenzo Luca or even Sesko maybe burst on the scene.
Yeah, for sure.
I couldn't go near any of those. The only one I could say that comes close to a Wonderkid that I would have managed in FM22, because I did the same save for the whole year, was Shola Shoretire, the guy from obviously Manchester United who's born in Newcastle. And he was quite good in game. I think I did well to get him. It was a bit of a coup. I think if you were to bring him into a bigger club than I was managing at the time for the circumstances, definite Wonderkid potential, how he was set up in game. So he's kind of my shout from my own save, I guess. And the player who I was chasing for the entirety of that save and never had a chance of getting him, who for me was another Wonderkid, Giovanni Reina. Again, he was born in Sunderland, so he was eligible at the time for that save. I was obsessed with that player in FM22 as a attacking midfielder. He's one of those double digit attributes on pretty much everything, and he just got better and better and better. And I think he ended up nearly the best player in the game in my save that year.
I was just looking. I think I did. I was looking back. I did a Portugal save, whereas trying to get a full Portuguese squad. And Gio Reyna, because Gio Reyna has part Portuguese citizenship. Yes. I'd signed him as well, but I don't think the save went on long enough, because what I was trying to do was sign young players to eventually get them homegrown. But there was one player that I wish I managed a little bit more. Dario Asugo, who's Portuguese, and I've seen his name mentioned quite a bit over the last 12 months, to be fair. Sort of a DM sent to me, really good on FM. But then other players like Daniel Bragança, who hasn't really gone on so much things. But Paulo Bernardo, I believe, is signed again for Celtic. He's been there a couple of years now. I had him as well, but I still have Fabio Silva, who's I can't off the top of my head, I don't know what Fabio's potential ability is this year. But even up until recent years, he was still -9, so he could become a really, really good player. But I don't think I played much in FM22. I'm just trying to have a flick through now to see what else it was, but I think it was predominantly that that save, to be honest. So but yeah, Haaland was unbelievable. I don't think I managed him in 22, but he was absolutely unbelievable that year. Thiago Thomas, what year? That must have been the year I did the Sporting save.
I was going to say that's 19. Thomas is youngs.
No, he's on the list there for FM22. I had that
No,
sporting save. That's got to be FM22
I would say it was, Dave. Yeah,
because
because you
he was.
Pentagon this year, Pentagon last year.
Yeah, I didn't really play a lot at all last year, did I? Because I was
Yeah.
barely on the pod as well. That sporting save. Oh, I need to find that because
oh
Thomas
mate.
was unbelievable for me on that one.
All I can say is I'm just going through like my old saves and that, and I'm getting like, I miss some of these saves, man. Like
Yeah, it's
so
Mm.
the
much.
nostalgia. Yeah. Your own
So
save nostalgia is
I've
tough. Yeah.
only got to my like last save of the year on FM22. So I don't know if you mentioned this, but I actually went to Vegas, and I took a laptop with me, and I basically decided to start at Anderlecht because they had Esposito and Fabio Silva at the same time. Do you remember that? So a little reference to the
Yeah.
previous one. And I basically had, it says here, the tweet says here, 10.5 hour flight. I spent 7 hours on the Anderlecht save. But also, previous references, we had Marco Cagna as well. He played for us. And then we had, I don't know just how good he was then, but that Debas, Zeno Debas, I don't know
Oh,
whether
the
this is
young Belgian guy. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
sure whether
yeah.
that was his breakout season or whatnot, but yeah,
Mm.
we went on to leave leave them and go on to a really small town up north called Newcastle. And they were in a shitstorm when I turned up, but they had, and we haven't mentioned him, but because we're talking about Wonder Kids and players that we love to manage over the last decade, I have to mention probably my go-to goalkeeper for as long as I can remember, Dominic Livakovic.
Yes.
He, I don't like. He's done well in recent years on like in the Euros. I think it was for Croatia. He's done really
Hmm.
well. I think he's number one for Croatia now. And I know there's talk about him signing for somebody recently, and I can't remember where he is like IRL. But yeah, there's quite a lot that's to be
He's a
said.
Fenerbahce now. Yeah, he went to Fenerbahce.
Oh,
He's with
what
Jose.
I was going to say with Jose. I read an incredible stat. Now we're just going to go on a quick tangent before we get back onto Football Manager. The in the last 2 years of the previous manager of Fenerbahce, that manager never got a yellow card or a red card. Jose Mourinho got it in his first 15 minutes of his first game. Jose doing Jose things. But yeah, that was
Yes.
like a monumental save because I then went off and did loads of random stuff with that. And I went to all sorts. But what I did do was I went to Ajax and I redid the total Duke ball save. And again, had all of that quality from Ajax and all that young players. But the one chap that we really did well with, oh, I also forgot to mention at Anderlecht, right? At Anderlecht, we had Yusuf Demir as well. I signed him.
He was a baller.
Oh, Yusuf Tamir. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he was a baller and he's on our little list. But one that I will say is at Ajax is we had Arezo. And Arezo is somebody that I have touched upon on so many different saves. And he, again, just cheap, wonderful little striker that I thought, do you know what? If you need somebody to fill a gap, he's the man to fill the gap. And yeah, I think that was we had some fun with that. And again, it's
Mm.
weird when you go back and have a little look at these, and you think just how much and how much you do. It's just crazy, like how many different saves you've done and how they all just merge into one. And
All the hours.
all the hours not wasted, of course, but like I
No.
do really really struggle like remembering the saves I do. And I always struggle when we get to this
Mm.
sort of thing as well. We always talk about like Wonder Kids, and this time of year we always kind of produce like a Wonder Kid 11 or whatever, and I always struggle because I've done so much and we've all done so, and we've all done different saves in different like these different universes, and it is mental. But yeah, that was my FM22, and that was probably again up there. That Anderlecht save, just something that I'm so out of my comfort zone. And yes, we went on and we managed some shit team up north, but like it was quite fun to do, you know. And yeah, I miss that save actually. I might try and load it back up again, have a little nose around.
There was another player Joe used to have a big fucking horn for in FM22 was Talas Magno, but he's a player I never actually managed. Did any of you ever have him, the Brazilian guy?
Yeah, I had him somewhere. I can't remember where. I've had him somewhere.
Joe
But
used
he
to
was
love him,
good.
and there was like Fabio Vieira or Fausto Vera, that kind of genre of player. That was a big Joe. Yeah, they were big Joe players. I remember.
Yeah, they were good. I will also say FM22 was when I did my first 48-hour stream as well, raising a shed load of money for Spread a Smile.
Yes.
Yeah, so look at that, and it's just again reminiscing, isn't it? We could probably do a pod or just about a pod a year on just the saves that we did, because there's so many saves that we've done.
For sure.
Some of us good,
Just
and
like reminisce
the
on all our
ones that
saves.
Matt have
We'll all
done.
just
So
we'll just start weeping on the pod here. It'd be great.
You just be like,
Yeah.
oh man, that save. Oh, what a player he was.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
just be there all day.
I like it. We should do that, and we could just share the screen and show it all to our YouTube listeners. Anyway, let's move hurriedly on before Dave cries. And so does Mad. And to be fair, so do I. FM23, Bellingham, Garvidal, and Alex Scott, which is quite a cool one. But there's a big name in the list below that we've kind of come up with that I'm going to say everybody listening to this podcast right this second has managed. And I actually, looking back, I signed him in FM22, so I was probably ahead of the curve with this one. But it was Benjamin Sesko. Everybody signed that man.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was awesome. Like, absolutely phenomenal.
I have a confession. I've never signed Benjamin Sesko.
What?
What?
There's
the
the
saves
doors,
I've done
man.
since. Yeah, the saves I've done since. I've never actually had the pleasure of signing.
No,
Benjamin Sesko.
again, that's the unfortunate. I mean, there's so many, and again, it's recency bias, right? Like we can remember some of these. So when I go through this list, and like we're talking about Scalvini, like an incredible centre back, Antonio Silva as well, an incredible centre back. The other one that I'd like to add is the one that I could never say his name, Inacio.
Inacio, yeah, Gonzalo
Inacio, that's it. Yeah,
yeah.
he was awesome at the same time, wasn't he?
Yeah, great
He was
player.
phenomenal. And I think, again, I think there's just that kind of FM23 for me was just where Wonderkids just come out of everywhere. And I'm looking at, again, I managed Ajax. I don't know why, but we managed Ajax again, and we did a total dupe ball system. And my three centre backs, Scalvini, Antonio Silva, and Inacio. Like,
That's jokes. It
is.
That should be illegal.
And then we had Edson Alvarez in front of him. But yeah, I mean, these players. Dave, come on, talk to me. You must. This is.
The thing, 23. So last year I was very, very quiet on FM. So I think I did a save right at the start of the year, and then I had like 6 months without it because I only did like tried a mini Pentagon at the end of the year, and it didn't work. But Sesko I managed for sure, and he was unbelievable. Just such a good player. I can't remember if that year was it overpowered on the corners, or certainly having a big man worked really, really well. But he was fantastic, and I didn't have the pleasure of managing Julian Duranville as well. But I remember when I watched him live as a 15, 16-year-old for Anderlecht, and Anderlecht were crap that day. But I remember in person seeing him, I was like, he's a baller. So yeah, I'm just hoping that he continues in real life as well as in AFM, being a top player. But Frenada as well, Ivan Frenada. I think he's just joined somebody, but certainly I think he'll go on to be a good right back as well. But some good players. But yeah, I didn't get the most out of FM23. I don't think so. It'd be unfair for me to comment too much more.
I think. I was going to say, I think me and Mad got a bit close during FM23 because that's kind of where I really broke my duck in blogging. And I did my Cheltenham save whilst I was away, and actually really enjoyed it, but realised I'm not a blogger. I'm not really a streamer or a podcaster. But anyway, we don't need to talk about that too much. But yeah, there's just so much fun I had in FM 2022 free. Like, it was just, I'm just looking at my Manchester United save that I had with Jude Bellingham as a volante on attack, and I just look at that and think, oh dearie me, he was phenomenal.
Yeah,
he was stupid. I think if I think of FM23, and again, I was in Holland, and then I think it was in Italy. I did a region in Italy, so again, slightly more limited in terms of the vastness of Wonderkids I would have signed, but players I would have come up against in that save. Fairly sure Arda Güler was one of them. But I think
Yeah.
the one that stands out from FM23 as kind of a true FM Wonderkid, Andreas Schelderup. The I want to say Danish. If it's not is he Norwegian or Danish? Can't remember. I do remember I think it was Clates that spent like a long time just retraining his position, turned him into like the greatest right back ever. But it feels like a bit of a waste on how good that guy was. But yeah, he was unbelievable. And of course, FM23 was the emergence of Endrick as well. For the 10 minutes he was available in Brazil before Real Madrid actually signed him in real life, and then any future updates just nuked that. So yeah, big number of Wonderkids. The one I did have in Holland in my save, which was the Harlem kind of Globetrotter save thing I did. Dion Drenabeljo was a Croatian striker, Beljo. He was an absolute bagsman. I did see him go like a lot of saves. Probably wouldn't be, you wouldn't see him at Real Madrid or, fucking Bayern or City. But an absolute goal machine of a Wonderkid in FM23. And I know some of the listeners will remember that name. Haven't seen him this year at all, actually, which is interesting.
Yeah, strange. But yeah, I think another one in that FM23 might even be an FM22. I've just stumbled across was Milinkovic, the centre back from Fiorentina. He was.
Oh yes,
he
he's
needs
at Forest now in real life somehow.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I
He's
look
gone
forward
to
to
Forest.
He's gone to Forest.
Oh, that's interesting. Right, last but not least, FM24, Barco, Bargi, and João Neves. Obviously, João Neves just completing his move to PSG. Yeah, I mean, again, FM24, I'm at Cirencester. I've not signed any of these. I've got some fantastic Wonderkids. We spoke about them, Mad. We spoke about my my lovely Chadwick chap from Everton that I bought for like 157,000 million pounds, whatever it was.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is down to you guys because I know nothing.
Yeah.
And we have to shout out Rooney Bargy. I think like Rooney Bargy was around in last year's game as well. I think Joe was the first person that I saw or heard about signing Rooney Bargy, and we talked about him on the pod. Unbelievable, and has just he's just gone from strength to strength in terms of FM. It'll be interesting to see. I think he picked up a bad injury in real life, but
yeah, he did. Yeah, I remember watching that actually.
Elite Wonderkid. Yeah, elite Wonderkid status. And we saw him playing for Copenhagen, I think, right this year in the Champions League too, I think, against Manchester United, which went great.
Yeah, well, our Champions League qualification was about as good as yours.
It's true that. But yeah, Rooney Bargy is elite Wonderkid status for sure from an FM24 perspective. I have to shout out for the bingo card, Evan Ferguson. I
think he's gone off the boil, I don't see him much.
In real life he has, but in FM24... it's ridiculous how good he is in FM24. It's nuts. Like they really went all in on him. I think thinking that this would be his big season, and whether it was De Zerbi or the tactic or I don't know, he just wasn't getting games. It was Danny Welbeck and João Pedro, and just Ferguson spent a lot of last season on the bench in real life. So I don't know what's going to happen in the season coming, but from an FM24 perspective, I'd go so far as to say, in terms of attributes, potentially he's definitely up there as one of the best Wonderkids in game. And then sticking with strikers, I have to shout out my boy that I've harped on about in this pod for years, Jonakusi Asar, who again I had in the Ike save, only 16 in FM24. Bayern have since signed him in real life. He's still only probably 16, if not 17. I'll be really interested to see what he looks like in FM25. But he's one of those Wonderkids where I didn't know he was at the club when I took it over. And it's one of those Wonderkids not many people would have heard of, so it makes it more rewarding that he actually turned out to just be unbelievable. I ended up selling him to Dortmund for 40 million or something crazy, which for a Swedish club is just insane.
Yeah, no, really good. Yeah, I remember you talking about him a lot, to be fair.
But yeah, Bargy for me as well. I've managed him for a couple of seasons on this FM right at the start, and for a player of his age, his attributes, and for the price, just absolutely unbelievable. Like you said, man, it's unfortunate they had quite a serious injury. I think at the start of the season, just gone. But yeah, he was great. There was a lot in and around that sort of part of Europe and Scandinavia again this year where there were just some great value for money. But Bargy, in terms of attributes, sort of going back, to Moikoko earlier, the first year he came in, and he was available on some games, and the attributes for someone of that age were just phenomenal. And I think Bargy's sort of been that player this year as well.
Boring. It was boring, like how good he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was mental.
But I like Bargy because you could play in a range of positions as well, as could Moikoko, sorry. But like, yeah, he was such a good player. I remember because on the wall save, if you remember, I had Bargy, but then I signed Messi as well, like a 38-year-old Messi, and everyone was like, "You're absolutely stupid." But
yeah,
the quality he had with that, with a couple of those, the technical ability was unbelievable.
If he just
Isn't there a Norwegian kid there as well? I haven't signed this guy. Naipan. It's like
yeah, he's a good player.
Sverre Naipan. He's like 16 in FM24. I never signed him, but I've seen loads of people like going on about how good he is in FM24, how good he is in real life. But I couldn't say I've ever signed him, so I'm not sure. But again, that side of the world as well.
Yeah.
Up to Scandies.
Okay, so we kind of really all touched upon our favourites from each game. So I don't think we need to go back through that. I just want to know, whom is your favourite ever Wonderkid on Football Manager
Of all
Anyone
time?
wanna go? Of all time.
All time.
Or you could do from the last,
No,
since 2019. Out of all of them, who's your favourite? Who we talked
Yeah,
about
we'll stick
today?
with what FM did. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go into. I'll go in Dave first because the decision is easy for me for many reasons. But I had Sandro Tonali in FM19 at Tenerife. I had him again somewhere else in between then and now. Had him at Milan when I did a Regionaire. Secondo Volante, scored like 15, 20 goals a season. Then he moves to Newcastle in real life and makes things very wonderful. Apart from the gambling, we won't talk about that. I find it impossible not to shout out Sandro Tonali as being like the best Wonderkid. I'd go so far as to say the last 10 years of Football Manager, I think Tonali is the best Wonderkid of all of them. So Tonali gets my vote too.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to say all time, and I don't know if he ever got into the Wonderkid Hall of Fame, but I loved John Fleck back in the day, man. I thought he was so good on FM. But I'm talking like years ago, obviously. But in terms of this timeline that we've mentioned here, my dad's never played FM, to be fair. I think I can't look past Haaland, but in terms of like availability and value, he's just been so difficult to get. Like on early years, you were able to get him, or unless you went into sort of like, if you were managing an elite team over the last few years, you were able to sign him. But Lorenzo Luca I've liked, Sesko I've liked. I'll go with Sesko just because it's a bit different. I think he's obviously there's a lot of interest in this year as well. But I just enjoyed playing with and using him. I was going to say playing with him, but using him. So Benjamin Sesko for me, just something a bit different.
Yeah, do you know what? I love playing with him too.
Fabio as well. Sorry, I can't forget Fabio Silva. I've had some fucking great saves with Fabio Silva. Sorry,
and he was DMing your sister as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah. What, me or Fabio
Both.
Silva? Because we both
Probably
probably
both.
have, to be fair. For me, it's between two, Moukoko and Sesko. And I'll be honest, it's a really tight one. But to make it easy so we can kind of have it, I'm going to go with Sesko. So I think it means that Tonali doesn't win, which is always good because nobody likes a dirty cheat. So, yeah, I would say for me, Sesko is my man.
There you go.
So I think we've given him the 5-star potential seal of Hall of Fame. Matt, is it going to be very, very quick or should we save it for next week?
Let's save it for next week. I think we'll put a bit more time on it. Let's save the quiz for next week because we've already, what are we, an hour in?
Great,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we'll save it for next week.
Well,
we'll
guess
do some
what?
save updates as well.
Guess what?
What?
That brings episode 365 to a close. You can now find the links for each of us in the podcast description or by visiting 5starpotential.com where you can find all of our latest Football Manager content. If this is your first ever Football Manager 5-Star Potential podcast that you've listened to, you can now go back and listen to one every single day of the year because we've done 365.
Wow.
Unless you do it on a leap year. And then, anyway, 5-Star Potential is available on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and most of our popular podcast apps and platforms with a new podcast release every single week. Thank you all for listening. There'll be more from us next week and hopefully not a quiz. Say goodbye, folks.
Goodbye, folks.
Goodbye, folks. Justice for Tonali.